Okay. All right. All right, you guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. It is now 1 o'clock. I'm going on with my camera. I am trying something in the background that is new to me, which is recording this to OBS. So I'm hoping that I've done everything right. Chances are I've done a few things wrong, and we're going to get started nonetheless. So, welcome you guys very much for to the very first office hours traffic link featuring Ball Guy Marketing with a few other guests to come along. So far, we have Keith, Justin, and Mr. Naito. Come on, is that how you pronounce it? I think that's how you pronounce it. Help me if I did that wrong. Yeah. So yeah. Well, I like Mr. Naito, and there's a reason why, and it's an inside joke, and he kind of knows why because he's Mr. Naito to me, but uh, maybe he doesn't even understand the inside joke, but nonetheless, right now we're just waiting for more people to join. There's a notification that went out a little while ago to say join the office hours, or should have been via text. Nonetheless, we are going to. I guess we can just start in conversation. Well, I know Justin. Do you have any questions about to continue on from our conversation earlier around list building and automating your list and things like that? I think he's on. Yeah, yeah, probably so. So, so, so let's go ahead and get started, Keith. So one of the top two questions people are asked in the Ignite U group, or the wanted to know in the Ignite U group, was the relationship with AI in marketing, and what was the other one? Gotcha. So as it relates to here we go. Okay, I think I'm getting it right in real time. Let's see. As it relates to how often you should post, I think that's a good one. And the reason why I think we should start there is because it's an opportunity to introduce automation. Because
Okay.
what do we know? The first thing we should understand is that automation is built to save time. That's the first thing that we should understand. And
Hmm.
if we can save time, then it's pretty. Let's just say it's pretty. It's safe to say that we are making money, or we have the opportunity to make money, because you're usually balancing one of the two. You're either balancing I don't
Hmm.
have enough time or I don't have enough money, right?
Hmm.
And with that being the case, then let's talk about how often you should post. And I know that there's different schedules for different things, but there's also a bare minimum, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and let you start. I have some ideas, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you start.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you letting me start. It makes me feel good about myself. Um, so I listen to some fairly big names in the marketing and SEO space, and some of those analytics tell them, for example, to relay to us, for example, if you're going to post on LinkedIn and on Facebook specifically more than twice a day, you need those posts to be at least 5 hours apart. Um, what the statistics say is on those two platforms, you will the second post will not one of the two posts will not get nearly as much traffic if they're not separated by time. On the other hand, on Instagram, that restriction doesn't is not nearly so prevalent. You can post 3 to 5 times a day on Instagram, and all of your posts will get equal amounts of initial views to see whether they get traction. Um, Twitter/X is every single every single tweet has is basically equal chance of getting traction as any other tweet. Um, and so there's people who are doing this level of analysis, and my argument is most small business owners don't even have enough time, off the point that Xavier just made, to post consistently more than once a day anyway. Um, and then there's discussion about, well, if you're going to post 3 times a day on Facebook, you should post one that's a pure informational value post, one that's a slice of life post, um, being social on social media, as we talked about earlier today, and one that is a um, that actually has a call to action. No more than one that actually has a call to action. But again, most small business owners, at least or manually, they're not they're not posting that often on any given day. Um, what I would argue is that you should leverage your automation to post between seven, like 3 to 7 times a week. So once per day, every day, automated so that there's at least something on your business page, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. If you're on sorry, X, um, every other, whatever platforms you're on, if you're on Pinterest, at least once a day, you're doing something on that platform. Um, and then manually go in and do your engagements. And while you're in the middle of that, post your slice of life personal personal activity as well. Is that a complete story?
Yeah, that's a really good story. That's a really good story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And then we got good. I stopped talking before Liz got in here to criticize me.
Yeah. Yeah, we all need
so
to be quiet now. Right. On this topic.
so
Yeah.
so Xavier. So I just went through what I think is some amount between 1 and 7 times a week. Um, sorry, not once a week. If you're posting only once a week on any of those social platforms, your business will be seen as effectively not present. Um, 3 to 5 times a week, so most business days would be good. Um, or every single day if it's automated, and then at least and then so if it's automated 3 to 7 times a week, and then as you get to it, go in and socially manually do at least one slice of life post per day. What is your perception or
My take on it.
idea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
my take is, yeah. Well, let's talk about what. So one thing I like to do, and I like to be really clear on this part, is I like to make sure that we are looking at what it is that the task we're trying to accomplish first. Before we apply automation to it, what are we trying to do, right? And what I tell people off the rip is like, do as much as you feel is consistent and organic to what it is that you're trying to the people that you're trying to assist, right? I always try to answer the bell. That's my approach. So if you're in an industry where most people are not on social media, then I would say post consistently once a week, right? But then it starts to become down to what kind of content strategy are you implementing? Are you implementing a long format, medium format, or short format? If it's a long format, then you don't need to post as much because you're getting more information out more regularly, right? If you're poor, if it's a bit more business people or more people that have more professional careers, that where their time and their energy is more spent on trying to serve the people that they're trying to serve, then they probably don't have time to tap into you every single day on a particular thing. If your business is less intensive or less, I don't want to say less intensive, but if it's less of a thought process or if it's less of a less of process involvement, then at that point, then you might want to think about putting out content more frequently. So, for instance, let's give it if you're an engineer, right? If you're an engineering consultant, and you have clients that you want to tap into, and you want to use your content to help educate them or I call it nurturecate, right? Where you're nurturing them with
Mm-hmm.
education, then you probably don't need to pepper them every single day. Once a week is probably plenty. Twice a month is probably even good. But whatever you're gonna do it consistently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you say so, for instance, if you are selling, if you're a nail tech, right, then you're dealing with people that are more in the consumer space. Then you need to probably be posted multiple times a day. But whatever you're gonna do, you have to do it consistently. So on the back end of that, what does that mean? What do I mean by consistently? So consistently also includes how often can you actually record content or generate content in order for you to serve it up to your potential clients, right? And the automation doesn't do anything but mimic what you would have to do at scale. So if you need to post one, even if either you're a software or if you're a engineer, right? You need to post once a week or twice per month. Then you need the automation to help you do that. If you're a nail tech and you need to post multiple times a day, then you need to employ automation to help you do that. Because it takes that time, it takes the time away from you having to post that piece of content, and you just put it in a tool, and the tool does all what it does. So that's my take
While
on
you're
it.
in the middle of, yeah,
Yeah, while
while
you're
you're in the
doing the
middle
thing,
of a appointment,
yeah,
doing somebody, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of that's the gist of that. So that's how I address it. I know I feel like you agree, and by and large, if we can get Liz to jump in off of mute if she's available and show up on camera, that'd be great. But if not, then I understand. She could probably give us a little bit more insight. Liz, we is a part of our networking group as well in Tacoma, Washington, called Ignite You. You can find all of our businesses on igniteu365.com, or if you want to come and join the group. I don't know if we have virtual signups if for anybody that's coming from out of or tuning in from out of the state, because I have a lot of my network that's all over the country that more than likely are going to
Yeah.
be on at some point or another. So that's so Liz, you got something to put in on this or anything you can help
Ew.
answer?
I agree with you guys. I think what you're saying is absolutely correct for the social media realm. The bare minimum, because people always want to push back, the absolute bare minimum I tell people is 3 times a week, because anything less than that, your account just kind of looks dead, both to the algorithm and to any prospective customers that are going to come to your page. Anything less than that, especially people who just don't post, it can actually make your business look like it's closed,
Mm,
which can send somebody right to a competitor, which we don't want happening. So yeah, I think take these guys' advice, and just my bare minimum is 3 posts to the timeline a week. That at least keeps you present, and then you still want to be doing stories and engagement to get traction and let the app know that yes, you do want this account to be live.
absolutely. Now, Liz, can you tell us a little bit about your business and what it is that you do?
I can. So I do social media management, coaching, and consulting. So I do everything from helping people learn how to use social media, whether it's one-on-one coaching or a class, all the way up to doing management where I operate people's accounts on their behalf. It just kind of all depends on what people need and how I can help them the most.
Awesome. And what's your where can they find you at? Where are you most active?
Uh, on my clients' accounts, to be fully honest.
And she is. It's creepy actually. I've seen it actually in action. She's really good at what she does, and I don't know how she does it. She must have like 8 arms or something like an octopus.
I do. Just
But
can't see them on board.
yeah. So yeah. But what is your
So you can find my professional socials at Benavid Media. That's Benavid Media. And then I have a rare form of cancer. So I do medical advocacy on my personal account, which is at Flyla's Fly
There we go.
when I can fit in.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So yeah, that's good. All right. So there's that. So that's the one question. And if you guys are here and you have any other questions, please drop your questions in the text channel, office hours chat. I'm checking that actively right now, just seeing if anybody is dropping any questions there, and we're going to answer those as we go.
Well, yeah. And while you're checking that, I'm going to leverage off the question you're asking us, Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so what we kind of came to a consensus conclusion is, um, if you are a very particular kind of professional, who isn't actually marketing your own brand, you're just demonstrating professional competence. Maybe you can get away with a single long form post a couple times a month. Um, but for most businesses, we came to the conclusion that a minimum of 3 posts per week are essential, and really something closer to 7 to 8 posts a week is probably more, um, demonstrates professional, active engagement presence. Um, so there's 2 parts because we're focused in this conversation, I think, Xavier, about the automation.
Automation, right?
Um, do you want to talk about automation of the content for social media, or do you want to branch over into the, um, engagement part of social media and then come back to how automation plays in both parts?
Okay, say that last part. I think we might go there because even that kind of took me a little bit. But say it again.
Okay, so there's social media is a compound word.
Right.
It's social and media. The media is the content that we're producing, and we just talked about frequency of content, and we talked a little bit about, um, different types of what that content, what the mix of that content might be. Um, but we talked about the frequency of how often you should be posting, and we implied pretty strongly that there are ways to automate some of that creation and publication syndication to maximize our time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the media part of social media. The social part is engaging with people, having actual conversations with human beings, being, I don't like to define a word by itself, but being engaged with their content to demonstrate interest and concern about their what they're concerned about, what they're interested in. Um, and so we can talk about the social part of social media. So we talked about the media part of social media, and we talked about possibly automating part of it. And I'm saying that there's the social part of social media, and then you and I can talk about automation again. Um, so do you want to talk about automating of content, or do you want to talk about engagement, the social part, and automation?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think there's value in each one of those. So I would say, ooh, let's talk about creation because that's one thing
Okay.
I would say that most people engage with me on is content creation, right?
Okay.
Especially because I have a video background and people want to know about that kind of stuff. So let's talk about automating content creation. Let's talk about a workflow for content creation, first of all, right?
Perfect.
And
Go for it.
I like to start there because again, automation is just simulating real life at scale. That's really what automation is about. And we use AI to backfill the areas that we might have blind spots to, so that we can stay on top of where we need to be. So, like for instance, a lot of us are suck at copywriting. I think, and that's why not a majority of people go to AI to help write copy, and then you see things like invigorating and enthralling and emphasize and all these words that people don't normally use in people's. I just had a weird thought. That's going to be the norm after a while. Seeing those words after a while is going to be the norm. People are going to use words like that just because it's easy to do. And anyway, going back to what I'm thinking. So AI is just basically used to backfill our inadequacies, right? But by leveraging the best of humanity, this is my way to put it. By leveraging the best of humanity in a way that we can use it at scale, right? So those two things work in tandem with each other. That's what I'm trying to say. They work together, right? Automation and AI. So let's talk about a workflow. One thing I always tell people is that whenever you're going to create content for social media, if you have an idea for social media, as much as you can stand, and I know everybody has a different personality, and trust me, when I'm not in front of a camera, I'm in a corner somewhere, tucked away. I'm like a introvert with extrovert tendencies, right? That's how I would describe myself. I've learned to talk relatively well, but back in the day, I didn't know how to talk well. But this is my encouragement to you guys that are introverts. Learn how to get good at the times when you're needed and being slightly extroverted. Like, get a coach. Find somebody that can help you speak. I know a guy named Will Winfield that will really help you become a better speaker and communicator, and I help him with this program. Nonetheless, let's talk about a workflow. Start with video, first and foremost. If you guys can rock with me on this, start with video. Right. If you can do video, then I would say take about it to write down all your questions. Are we getting questions? No. Okay.
No,
All right.
that's me writing my takeaways is
Okay.
all that's in the chat so far.
Okay. All right. So if you're in a place where if you're in a place where you can record video, take about an hour to write down all the questions that you researched the week before and just answer those questions, like question by question. End up with a video maybe 15 to 20 minutes long. Go get a subscription for $20 a month for Opus Clips. Go to Opus Clips, upload that video, and then use that tool that also has AI built-in AI, what's called B-roll or alternate visuals that help support the story that you're trying to tell, and upload it there, and then hit generate. And it would give you a list of maybe about 10 or 20, depending on how long your content is, 10 or 20 clips that you can use. And it gives you a grade of how well it's going to be and how well your hook is, how well your body is, and how close it is to being on trend with what's currently out there in the market right now. There's a good workflow that you can put into place right now. Anybody have any questions about that? Did I go too fast? If I did go too fast, I am recording this. I will post a link to the replay later on. So
Yeah.
that's
So there. You do have a comment.
okay. What's the comment say?
The comment says, "Videography is tough when competing with master editors." And Hannah, I agree. Um,
Oh yeah, that was me.
and yeah, and it
And that's
feels like
what pushed me out of social media a lot, was trying to keep up with the shift from like good photography to and like display of your products to being able to make a video of your process and like all these things, and people have the voiceovers and the effects and like they're really high quality, and it's hard to keep up with, I
Mhm.
think. So to post videos 3 times a week or so, it's
Yes.
Well,
and then get all your work done is tough.
So that.
um,
Oh, go ahead, Keith.
yeah. So part of what, part of what Xavier is suggesting regarding the workflow is I'll come back to the workflow in a second. So part of the solution is to realize that it depends on what your brand is. And if your brand is highly polished, highly refined, highly systematized and structured, then you probably better have really good videography. If your brand on the other end of the spectrum is, I'm just the get it done handyman kind of guy, and you set up your phone to film you driving a nail or digging a hole, um, that'll probably fly. Um, so so you don't necessarily need to compete with people who have 15-person editing teams on the backside of their brand, depending on what you're going to present as your brand. And then what Xavier was suggesting for the workflow is, if you only produce one medium to long form video a week, there's actually software that can help you turn that into your 3 to 5 posts a week.
Okay.
Yes,
Um,
that's exactly right. So, and let's talk
I
about
mean,
video.
you can
Let's
totally
talk.
get into, because it works, right? So
So,
it's just getting there.
one more time, Hannah. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying it's definitely something that I've wanted to figure out and learn how to do, because it is so beneficial now. Like, everybody wants to get into the video side of things because it's what a lot of the platforms are pushing on the algorithm, rather than static images. Like, it used to be like the swipe ones, and now it's videos. So
Shoot, girl, I'm
um
gonna be honest with you. It's everything now. It's,
yeah,
I even made a post
you
one
just got to be a
time.
unicorn. You have to be able to do it all.
Yeah, and if I'm not tooting my own horn, but I got a little horn right here underneath this little headband thing. I got a little horn right there. I try to hide it from people, but I was trained at the Art Institute. I did all that. Became a software engineer over time. I started my graphic design career when I was like 15, 16 years old. I had a big blow up with success early on. I was looking up there, looking for my little article I could show on screen. But so I've been around, and I'm an old dude at this point, so I've been around. But let's talk about video quality, okay? Video quality. How many of you guys, if you're using your iPhone right now, and how many of you guys are using your iPhones right now for recording content for your socials, or for any for socials, for podcasts, or whatever the case is? Isn't how many of you guys are doing that?
Yup.
Yep, yeah. Well, if you have an iPhone, right? I can't speak to Android, but I know Android has these settings. Somebody help me with Android. You need to go into your iPhone. We can do it right now in real time. Pick up your iPhone, go to the settings. Once you get to settings, look for your camera. You can either search it by pulling down and pulling up a search bar, and you can type in camera, that's what I'm doing here. And once you get camera, you can go into record video. And when you get to record video, you see a number of different settings. You see 720 HD 30 FPS, all the way up to 4K at 60 FPS, right? So what you want to do is that you want to make sure that if you're going to be doing a lot of talking in your videos, then you want to do 4K at 24 FPS. If you're doing a lot of motion and a lot of movement, not less close up on your face and talking, then you want to go to 30 FPS, right? Or if you're going to be doing a mix of talking and a lot of motion, you want to go to 30 FPS. Otherwise, you go to 4K at 60 FPS, right? but and you can do like just only like this is really only good for like if you're gonna slow down your video in post production to give you a slow motion effect. 60 FPS is good for that. Or if you're doing extreme like action shots, like you're filming people at a game and you want to use that for your social media, then that's going to be the setting for that. Otherwise, if you're gonna just you don't care about 4K and you just want all social media is going to be shot or going to be received in 1080p. You can use the 1080p at 30 FPS or 60 FPS. So that's what I recommend doing. And if you do that, then you'll have the settings that you need to start recording your content. And those would be the use cases for recording content. Another really important thing when you're considering content or shooting content is light source, right? I wish now, yeah, like you see how I wish Josh was still on because he's a videographer too, and I almost wish I could reach out to Fareed, another colleague of mine that is also a videographer. That's their main, thing. That's what they do. I use it in my business as a means to help people market and automate and turn those pieces of content. I put them in the Traffic Link app, and then I use that Traffic Link app to automate sending out these pieces of content. Right, you can, and that's the next part of the workflow. After you get it through Opus Clip, then drop it into the Traffic Link, for instance. But there's a number of different apps. Keith has an app. I have an app. Other people have apps that allow you the ability to automate those. Oh, there's Josh. There's Josh. He's back. So and another thing is light source. Always remember that your light, whenever you're videoing or shooting video or shooting photos, the number one thing that you need to be concerned about is light source. Let's use Josh, for instance, and let's use Keith, for instance. Josh is using what I call more of a flat lighting scenario where everything is pretty much flat. There's not a lot of, and I wish I could capture this for you guys that are watching the replay. I might just, I wish I could capture it for you guys. I can't. You got to just show up to the next office hours because this is the stuff you're going to miss out on. Josh is using what's called flat lighting because there's not a lot of shadows on his face. Everything is evenly lit and it doesn't have a lot of shadows. Keith is using what it's called split lighting because his biggest light source is coming from the window that is off to what is probably his right-hand side or left-hand side. Right-hand side? Yep. That's off to his right-hand side, which is giving a lot of light on his right-hand side, but not a lot of light on his right-hand side. And now that he just pulled down the curtain, he's going to turn up I think he's going to try to turn up his key light. That didn't help at all, Keith. Open the curtain back up.
Fail.
So he has split light because most of all his light's coming from one side. So it's giving a really dark shadow down on the left-hand side of his face because as the camera sits, it's right in front of him. So always remember that your lighting, the most flattering lighting is going to be at golden hour, either golden hour in the morning or golden hour in the evening, because the sun, as it relates to the horizon, is generally at 45% or 45 degrees. The most flattering light is going to come in at 45 degrees and 45 degrees. I call it the big 45 because it's like 40. Like right now, my camera is right here, but my light is at 45 degrees. That's my light source. So you can see here, I got a little bit of a Rembrandt lighting situation going on because I have a slight triangle right here, and the rest of this is dark because my light source is on this side. So remember, more than your content that you shoot is the lighting that you shoot it in. That's the number one thing. That's the number one thing I think people sleep on. More than what you shoot is how you're lit. Because if you're not lit properly, then the message that you're trying to convey is going to be interrupted by poor setup. So you're going to be distracted, right? You're going to be distracted by poor setup. And so that's what I would say. Now that's just on just creating content. That's just the actual filming of the content. Now, if you're not in a person that likes to be on camera, here's another flow for you, right? Leveraging AI. All right. So, and this is going to get, I don't know, if we got any AI specialists here? I'm kind of an AI specialist in this regard. But let me give you this. If you're somebody that doesn't like to be on camera, get professional headshots. If you don't like professional headshots, then you have to become an expert storyteller and copywriter. Get a copywriting coach. Because at the end of the day, what we're all doing is conveying stories. My story is how I can help coaches, consultants, and public speakers become better at their craft by leveraging automation and AI. Because I feel that coaches are the future, and they're the best way for all of us to level up our skill sets in a way that doesn't require us to go spend thousands and thousands of dollars at university and other historic institutions, historically known institutions. That's my story. If you align with that story and you think, oh, maybe he can help me level up my coaching career or my consulting career or me becoming being a better speaker, then I need to go. You're going to come talk to me, right? That's the story we tell. So if you are somebody that doesn't like to show up on camera, you need to become an expert storyteller, and you have to partner with an excellent graphic designer. Not that I know one of those. I actually do, a few of them. One of them just logged off. But the point is, you're going to have to create graphics. I would even leverage AI to generate your graphics. Utilize AI in the same way. From the previous week, address the top 5 questions that people have asked. And you can source those questions from either in-person interactions, like going to networking groups, people that might be in your professional world, going on Google, and this is what you would Google, right? This is what you would put in there, or you go on Google, and you might want to source Instagram or Twitter. And what you would do is you would write out the word site : Twitter space in quotations, questions about insert your niche, end quote, space, starts a new quote. And then you might even put in there and then put at like gmail.com, right? Because it's going to do 2 things for you, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. So it's going to give you questions that people ask about what your niche is, right? And then from that, and it's going to be specific to Twitter. And then if they have emails associated to their accounts, then you're going to find out who those people are. And now you have their email address, and you can potentially email them as a cold email. But be careful. You don't want to get banned by the ESPs or the email service providers for spam. You just got to be smart about it. But anyway, that's a good little extra tip. You want to research it on your own. We're going to talk about it at another later time. But you can take the results of that, export those results as a CSV, take that CSV and then upload it to ChatGPT 4.0, the paid version, and say, analyze this document. Now give me 5 questions that would be common to the questions that are being asked here. You can take those questions, right? You take those questions and tell ChatGPT, place those questions in a CSV, go over to Canva, and once you get to Canva, you can import those. You can set up a template in Canva to import those questions as content and use those results. And look, you guys, this is a whole a whole course. We're going to probably do this in May, but because I can show you how this works, and Liz probably can show you how this works as well. You can go to Canva and then use Canva as a template to import all those questions and break each one of those questions into individual pieces of content and use those and put those inside of a social media posting app like the Traffic Link app, and post that out to your socials. That's your workflow for people that are shy and don't want to show up on camera. Any questions? Did I do good? All right, I'm getting hand claps. I'm getting thumbs up. Yes. Yes. This is what community feels like, I guess. All right. So,
You're doing good.
all right, great. So,
Josh pulled up the clip for the link for Opus Pro,
Opus Clips.
which is
yeah.
which is the one that you're suggesting. I have used a different one, and I'm not remembering the name well enough to find it right now. That's what I'm busy going to try to find name for another one. I'm going to drop a name for one that I haven't used.
I'm gonna drop 2 more in the chat.
All right. And I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't see where you guys are dropping chats or dropping comments in chats. What chat are you guys in?
So
The room chat.
The room chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you guys now. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah. Okay. You guys, I appreciate you guys helping me moderate the chat room, Keith. I appreciate it. With that being said, does anybody have any other questions? Any questions around what we talked about so far, as far as automating content creation? Because that's a big deal, right? From what kind of camera to choose, what kind of situation to put myself in as far as lighting. Like I got a 2 light scenario going on here. Like I got my key light here and I got my fill light in the back. It's purplish color. I also have a big light source coming from over this way with a window, but I have that light source by and large is blocked with a UV curtain that basically is on a C-stand. Basically a C-stand is a stand that photographers, videographers use to hold things up. And that's helping block some of that light so I can get my key light to shine. And then I also have a little bit of a skylight right here that helps my key light, which is why I chose to put the key light here, because I didn't want a completely flat lighting scenario where I have light coming from both sides. Then from that, okay, so that I went a little bit of a tangent, but creating content, what light to what camera, what light to choose, what do I use to edit it, where do I post it? Are you camera friendly? Are you camera shy? And those things are going to all be considerations in which you're going to help you choose the right tools and be able to automate your message, because that's what I call it, automating your message. So, anybody have any questions? Or do we want to move on to the next question, Keith?
I think we've beat this horse well enough for now. Until we want to. So let's talk about. So here's the point from my perspective of what we just talked about is using Xavier's model of gather the 10 questions over the course of the week of what someone asked you, and then shoot a relatively short video, 15 to 30 minutes, of the answers to those questions. And then you can use that, repurpose that content by using these clip editors to be, so you're going to have one a week that's your long form, that's your blog post length content, and you can take the transcript of that and you can repurpose that as a blog post on your website to give your website more content. And now you take your clips and you spread them out over the course of the week with links back to the original blog post and back to the original long form video. And that's where you start leveraging your time. You're taking an hour of your life to produce one long form piece of content that's about 15 to 20 minutes worth of content, but you're turning it into a week and a half worth of your getting your message out there, your repetition, your frequency.
Yeah.
I call did you call it distributing or automating your content? That's what you called it, Xavier?
Automating
Yeah.
your content. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I call it syndicating the content, but they're
Ooh,
they're
consider
parts
that
and
stolen.
parcels of the same thing.
I consider that one stolen. We're syndicating our
So
content here, you guys. We're moguls in the media industry. So,
yeah, in our own media industry.
Yeah, exactly. Which is
All right.
there's a lot to be said about that, because at the end of the day, that's really what it is. If you think about it that way, then you kind of understand that just as much as we like to tap in and watch our favorite shows, it's going to be probably about as much as you probably need to 2x that or 3x that amount, right? So, because you become your own media outlet for the thing that you do. So, what was the next question, Keith, that we were going to address?
Well, so I wanted to branch, staying kind of on the social media side, but do you want to shift to a pure automation and AI? You want to spend some time talking on that topic, or do you want to talk about the engagement part of social media and
I wanted to hit the top two questions.
Yeah. So the
That
top two, we spent a lot of time at this point talking about Facebook.
Yeah.
So the other top question was, how is artificial intelligence being used in marketing? Obviously, we've used that term several times. There's some overlap, but I think especially for you, this is a key part of how you're messaging, positioning yourself anyway, right?
Right. So give it to me one more time. The question.
The question, as published, is well, I'll word it I'll say it two different ways. How is artificial intelligence used in marketing, or used in marketing now, or used in marketing today? And the other way of asking the same question is, how is artificial intelligence changing marketing?
Okay. Yeah, I think it's changing marketing a lot. In fact, here's one way. Artificial intelligence right now is basically giving a lot of people access to do things that they would have they normally couldn't have in the past, because it just cost too much. And now we are realizing that we have the access to these things that we didn't have access to in the past. That's going to allow us the ability to expand and grow exponentially. For instance, one of the copywriting at a point was extremely lucrative, and it's kind of weird because it actually is becoming more lucrative. But it used to be really lucrative and exclusive to people that really knew how to write. And now that we have AI, we're able to leverage. We're able to leverage those copywriting skills to achieve things that we otherwise wouldn't been able to in the past. So with that being the case, then there's one way it's changing the marketing landscape. You're able to tell your story a lot better and be able to be a better marketer, because at the end of the day, marketing is all about telling a story that compels people to make a set and to buy, helping align the world with their viewpoint. That's what marketing is. And you're utilizing AI and the best, like I said earlier, we're able to leverage the best of humanity in a perfect ideal perfect ideal AI representation to be able to convey your message. Like, for instance, everybody in today's day and time, and I'm probably old to be, I'm kind of new, younger, old for my demographic being a Gen Xer. But like Gen Zers and people like before that, I have tapped into this guy named Alex Hermosi, right? If anybody doesn't know Alex Hermosi, he's a big deal. He has this company called acquisition.com, and he helps you build your business to a certain point so then later on he can acquire you for several millions of dollars down the road. But he's known for this content that helps support his mission of creating $100 million offers, right? There's somebody that took all of Alex Hermosi's content, put it in Chat GPT, and created a GPT specifically trained on how Alex Hermosi would make an offer. That right there changes the game. That in right there, AI changes the game. We're right there. That's how it changes the game. Because now marketing isn't is the playing field is a little bit more flattened because of the things that AI can do. I mentioned Opus Clip a minute ago. That's another example, right? Video editing like it was stated earlier, is hard. It's challenging, right? It can be long form. Hannah said that very eloquently. It can be very challenging and hard and take a long time, but we have a whole list of applications here that are leveraging AI to be able to give you quality content based on what was most common in society or whatever these AI bots are trained on. So those are ways that AI is changing the game for marketing. Keith or Keith or Josh, you guys got anything to put in on that?
Well, I'm gonna do a really short version, or at least short for Keith, and then I'll pass it off to Josh or Hannah. Um, so one of the people, Xavier says, makes a point of about highlighting his own age. One of the people that I consider a mentor, I deliberately introduce him as such. He's not even 30 yet. He knows things about specifically Facebook that I have to think, how would I do something in the real world? How do I replicate it in Facebook? The conversation we're having regarding automation is that there's a process that I'm doing in the real world manually. Can I automate it to leverage my time better? What Devin Tracy says about Facebook, and I generalize it to all of social media, is social media is the most powerful communication tool that's ever been placed in the hands of the individual. We can expand that further I expand it to all of social media as the most powerful communication tool handed to the individual. We can break the monopoly of all the media conglomerates. But exactly what Xavier is talking about right now is generative pre-trained transformer, which is what the GPT in Chat GPT stands for, is a language model that allows you to tell it something and it produces a more rounded out idea of this question that you asked it. It's not that it's creating something new, it's that it's reframing and revisualizing it in a way that resonates with a different part of a different audience, and it's no longer stuck in the way Keith would describe it. It's described in a way that makes sense to Josh and to Hannah and to Robert.
So, real quickly with the AI stuff, right? So when I'm talking to ChatGPT, I'm asking very specific prompts, right? I think I put something in the chat about this where I'm basically asking it to talk like a certain person and then give me very specific details and then put it in a certain format, right? So it kind of goes in that format. right? When I'm asking these questions. So let's say I wanted it to talk like Alex Hormozy, I wouldn't necessarily need to use the. I just searched it up because I got curious. The
Yeah.
askalexhormozy.org
Yeah.
or askhormozy.org or whatever it is.
Right.
I could actually do that within ChatGPT. Or let's say one of the most famous authors in the finance space is Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, right? So I can take his works because that's a older literature, and I can take his writing style, which is amazing because he's one of those people that was able to conceptualize these financial concepts in a very simple way, and take that type of tonality and get Napoleon Hill, who is, not available to us anymore other than in his books, to write me a sales copy letter. And that's fantastic. I mean, it's the kind of stuff that we would take forever to do just to, have our creative mind just wrap around these concepts, whether we're experts in our field or not. It still takes a little bit of ideation, and we're able to get 80% of that work done by a manual, like by a robot, and do the 10% of work in the front and the 10% of cleanup in the back, and then it's ready to post.
Right. So that's how AI is changing the game. Changing the marketing game. It's flattening out the playing field. But I will say that it still would not. It's still going to be good to be a copywriter, right? Because one thing AI can't do is replicate the soul. And as more of this AI generated copy is starting to come into the market, people are going to start to recognize it. Like it's even happening now. People can look at your copy and go, that was AI generated because of the words that were being used in the tonality that was being used. It doesn't seem like it's coming from you. It looks like it was coming from someone else. Like in your everyday conversation, do you use I extrapolate? Well, I do because that's just kind of nerd I am. But most people don't use that kind of language. Sometimes AI is a little too clean. Like I've seen people have AI prompts that say misspell every 10 words or randomly misspell words. Right? Or instead of just being straight up with no ahs and ums, insert random ahs and ums. Overuse the word like. Those have become prompts that people use to be able to make it seem like it's coming from a human. So, because you can leverage AI in so many different ways. 11labs.com is a great tool AI for voice synthesis. They can actually capture a voice sample of you and use your voice and your tone to say whatever you type. So you can literally go into ChatGPT, say you created your own GPT, say it's a HANA GPT. So you create your own GPT that's trained on things that you've said in the past, that's been transcribed into words and put into the GPT. So whenever you ask it to spit out a blog post, it's going to find a way to synthesize your word patterns. And then you can take that output of that, put it in 11 Labs, and 11 Labs will then generate audio that sounds just like you. And say Hannah is somebody that doesn't like to be in front of the camera. You could take whatever the 11 Labs outputs, take that, put it behind some graphics, or put it in an application like video or Descript, and then you can have Descript find B-roll, like stock videography that matches whatever it was that you were talking. That's a whole workflow, but that's how AI is changing the game because it's allowing you to tell better stories. That's going to be able to convey your message a lot clearer with a lot more compassion, empathy, all the good stuff, all the feely good stuff. If you train the AI the right way to get the kind of output that you're looking for, the result that you're looking for. That's how it's changing the game.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure. And then we're going to wrap.
Hannah, you mentioned in the chat, so it says videography is tough, especially competing with master editors, post-production effects. I think AI doesn't replace hard work, right? So even though we can get 80% of everything done with AI, we can now take that 80% of effort and replace that towards these other things, right? Or put those resources towards this other thing. So instead of hiring an editor to do what AI can do, you can hire an editor to do the things that AI can't do yet. And that's kind of how we make whatever we do stand out. Is partially it's like AI can now do all this menial task work, but same way as like a full service laundromat goes, you take the laundry, but someone has to still fold it, right? Or with a, I mean, okay, I'm going to use a sweatshop analogy. So
Oh
if
Lord,
you're,
are we safe?
if I'm Asian, I think I can go in
Oh
this
Lord.
territory. But you have a sewing machine, but someone still has to operate it, right? So AI has made it from hand stitching to a sewing machine, but still someone has to move the cloth and do some stuff. So I think that's kind of where it can help you. And then there's still a little bit of robot, and it's still a little bit of teams, and it all can work together. Yeah.
Totally. I think, well, the voice thing is as creepy as that is. I think that's wild that it's able to do that right now. I don't know if I want somebody talking to my voice back at me. I
Right.
think I would hate
Also, you
myself.
do need a library of like your voice in
Yeah.
multiple videos so that it can get a good,
Sample.
real, like an accurate representation of your voice. It needs a library of these different vocal tonalities that you've used in different situations, or else it'll take that one piece and make you sound like that all the time.
Right.
So for
Yeah.
you,
I
that
think,
would be wonderful.
yeah, because I think a lot of the videos that I need to start doing, I'm in design, by the way, just as a point, but a lot of it is looking for process work or like the how to's and all of that. So voiceovers is a big part of that now. And of course, me talking, I'm gonna like say and like every other word and then have to re-record the whole thing because the whole process of that. So I'm definitely gonna deep dive into these
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wild, wild world right now. One of the things I think about oftentimes is that at some point in time, it's right now we're at the very beginning of it, but at some point in time here in the next 10 years, there's going to be a lot more AI generated content than there actually is human content, because the humans are going to get better at leveraging the tool, right? We're going to become masters of the tool, but the tool is going to produce the product, right? Or they're going to implement the product. The whole thing is a production, but the tool is going to implement the thing, right? Or create the thing, or to be the last mile. So I'm like, keep on thinking to myself, who is? We need to be like so vigilant about taking advantage of this time, because at some point in time, it's going to be to where it's so common that you won't be able to tell the difference, or that being a human isn't going to, having a human voice isn't going to be so much a thing, or so much. I feel like we're going to lose value there, right? But your thought process is not going to ever lose value, the imagination piece. But I like, you need to get on board with AI now, while you still have an ability to make an impact, while the cynicism of AI and things like that is still down, still low. The people don't expect it to come at them, as often as they think. I just saw something the other day that kind of blew me away. Somebody was using a program like Hey Gen. Hey Gen basically is like 11 Labs and like Opus Clips had a baby, right? And it basically synthesizes your image and your voice to say a thing. And somebody was on YouTube, had used Oprah's likeness to promote an ED product. I said, now I know good and doggone well, the lady that was giving away cars to everybody is not promoting an ED product. I know for a fact that's not the real. So, but we need to get on top of it and leverage this now. So, with that being said, any other questions? Last questions? I know we had a lot of people drop, but we're at the end of it. Any question? Any questions?
Let's queue up. Josh can ask the scripted teleprompter. He can ask that next week.
Sounds good.
All right.
So
Thank you all.
thank you all. And we'll be back next week for office hours with the traffic link and all of my cool friends. Thank you very much to Josh. Thank you very much to Keith.
Do I get to come too?
Yes, you get to come too.
Okay, because the cool friends and Keith.
Yeah, call my cool. Okay, Keith and all the cool friends. It's
Thank
always-
you.
Wow, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
yeah. You know, the thing is, it's always one in the group, right? They're like, no, I want to be the lead singer. No, okay, Keith, you can be the lead singer. All right.
I amuse me. Oh my goodness.
No, this was pretty cool for the first one I've ever attended. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Xavier, for
I appreciate
putting
it.
this on.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. So, all right. Any other questions? Anything
All
else?
good.
All right. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap. See you next week.